Hello everybody and welcome to part 9 of the series Signs of Soul Connections in Astrology, and today we're going to talk about mirror souls, another form of can be divine counterparts depending on the level of maturity. So we're going to talk about mirror souls in general, and then we're going to talk about mirror souls in astrology as well. Mirror souls are souls that are very much alike. Unlike twin flames, and this can be either the split twin flames and the monadic twin flames, they don't have this yin-yang complementary energy. So we don't have the complementary energy, we have sameness, a lot of sameness going on. So mirror souls, due to that, of course, are a very strong mirror. They show each other the positive as well as the negative traits that both inhabit. Depending on the maturity of both people involved, these connections can be highly karmic or peaceful. Since we can only attract someone that matches our frequency, you know, the law of attraction, they can mirror each other like crazy when there are a lot of shadows left unhealed, because then the other person will have the same shadows. Or these connections can be very harmonious as well. However, when dealing with the oppressed emotions, the mirror soul will mirror this back and the connection can become harmonious. Don't expect to attract a perfect person who will help you out of your dilemma. It is you who needs to get out in order to attract somebody who has left their hurts behind as well. Trauma bending can easily happen here if there is unhealed trauma. Why? Because again, you attract somebody who is just like you in these kind of connections. And then of course there is all of this triggering going on between the two of you, and then you will connect because you're so much alike. That also means you probably have had very similar experiences and very similar trauma, and that of course can create difficulties in healing. They are quite similar to soul twins, even though they can be less harmonious when there is unhealed trauma. Of course, a sort of instant soul recognition and love at first sight can happen here as well, since the souls instantly recognize the very similar frequency of the other person. When they meet after they have done their shadow work, or they never really had any strong shadows or unhealed trauma to begin with, those lucky people, then these connections can be very harmonious, since we can only attract a mirror soul with high vibration if we are in high vibration ourselves. That of course goes with any kind of divine counterpart connection. You can only attract a divine counterpart if you already have been on this journey by yourself for a bit. Mirror souls can be confused with twin flame connections, especially if a person was intentionally trying to manifest a twin flame relationship, even though it was not in the divine plan before incarnating. That is the ego, of course, that hears about twin flames. They're like, oh, that sounds amazing, I want that. But due to the power of manifestation, they can go through a similar journey as split twin flames do, since it was intentionally or unintentionally manifested by the desire to experience a twin flame connection. And a twin flame connection for most is a journey of ascension, it is a journey of healing, it is a journey of doing shadow work. That's the purpose of these connections, and union is only the second purpose afterwards, once the healing has been finished or at least nearly completed. When somebody's either consciously or subconsciously, they may not know what a twin flame is, but they yearn for that one person that completes them. If this person is trying to manifest a twin flame, but they either aren't a monadic or split twin flame, or the split twin flame is not incarnated at the same time, this is most likely the kind of soulmate or divine counterpart connection that they are going to attract. And it's very important we can have more than one mirror soul. The trauma bonding and mirroring of traumas may be another reason why people confuse them with split twin flame connections, since the split twin flame relationship has the stigma of runners and chasers. Yeah, this is my personal opinion. It's a bit sad that these divine connections are often belittled to a tiny aspect only. That is why many people, they have some karmic connection and they label it a twin flame just because we do have this tiny aspect going on there as well. But as I said, if you meet a real divine counterpart, there is a rapid journey going on, and it's not being stuck in cycles for forever. Even though this journey still may take years, but there is progress going on. There's constant progress. So the runner and chaser episode, it can happen in any kind of connection if there is unhealed trauma. If you have still unhealed lack of abandonment, you cannot attract somebody who's there. You will have to attract somebody who's ghosting you or who's not emotionally or in any other kind available to you. But when both are at a good place emotionally and they are content within themselves, they are at peace, in self-love, free from abandonment issues, and that is always the requirement to attract union with any kind of divine counterpart, then they can have a happy, fulfilled, and lifelong relationship. Already said this, one can have several mirror souls, and mirror souls, they can be friends as well, and in some cases even family, or a distant family here, because often biological family members come from the same monad. But it can of course happen that you have family members that are a little bit more distant related. So here we do have one soul that's split again and again and again and again and again until each individual soul was created, and this cluster is a soul family. This can be called a monad. So they share a higher self, not so much a higher self, but they share a higher part of themselves. So if this would be you, then as I said, your mirror soul can be from a different monad, but they still will have similar frequency. So if this would be blue, then there would be other shades of blue. Why not exactly the same? Because nobody can be exactly like you. No person has experienced every day just like you, has had the same conversation every day of their lives just like you. There are some kind of differences, of course. A short note to shadow or dark twins. I know some people out there think that's a thing. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in shadow twins. I don't believe in dark twins. I think this happens when somebody was desperately looking for a twin flame, and then the next person they meet, they're like, okay, this is my twin flame, and accidentally they labeled someone or maybe even a karmic connection a twin flame, and then notice, oh, hold on, this is not a twin flame. But there are other kind of soul connections that can be very similar and who mirror the unhealed stuff back. So we do have trauma bonding, and that can happen in soulmates. It can happen, karmic soulmates connections. A person may find similarities between themselves and the other person and then wrongfully label them a twin flame. Just because you have similarities doesn't mean you're twin flame. You could be soul twins, you could be mirror souls. So this may not be surprising. According to the law of attraction, we always attract someone or something that mirrors our own vibration. Therefore, it is plausible to attract somebody who is similar to oneself. Twin flames are very similar to oneself as well. Split twin flames also, even though they have the biggest differences, but they have more the complementary yin-yang energy, whereas a soul twin is more the same energy. So this mirror can of course show our good qualities, but also our shadows or unhealed qualities. Just because someone is like-minded, it does not automatically mean that they are a twin flame, and I think it's very important to put that out there repeatedly, hoping that everybody who needs to hear this gets to hear this. So if you already get some value out of this content, I would ask you to please like, share and subscribe, hit the bell icon, and of course I am available for personal coaching, also for your own astrological analysis. If you're interested in that, then please let me know, and you will find my contact information as well as a link to my price list in the description box below. But now let's talk about mirror souls in astrology. So mirror souls, they share many of the same signs, naturally, because they are a lot alike. So in comparison, we were talking about soul twins in the last part 8. They share a lot of the same elements. They have a lot of trining energy, but they don't have so much like the same sign. When sharing the same energy but with different signs, like soul twins do, then there's still enough difference to develop, because having a lot of sameness can lead to stagnation, because you are just the same. There's no difference, there's no one giving in, or both people are too passive. So this means that if you have a sun, moon or rising sign, the other person most likely has the same, or at least 2 out of 3. Those are the most important ones. Other personal planets may be a bit different, but those ones are the most important ones. And of course, the more you have in common, then the stronger the mirroring is, because the more you are alike. And here you see, if you are an Aries, then like an Aries Sun, your person most likely would be an Aries Sun as well. They could be an Aries Moon, but most likely they would be an Aries Sun as well, or I don't know, Scorpio Moon, whatever it is. So it could also happen that one person is, for example, and this would be me, a Virgo Sun, Aquarius Moon, and Gemini Rising, and the other person could have the 3 signs with the Sun, Moon, and Rising, but not exactly the same. This doesn't happen too often. Then there is still mirroring going on. I don't know if it would be strong enough to actually call it a mirror soul. You will still have the same energy, but more complementary in that case. And this just would be an example: Aquarius Sun, Virgo Rising, Gemini Moon. Usually in mirror souls, they share the same. At least the Sun, the Moon, maybe even the Rising, but 2 out of 3 should be the same. But having the planets in the same signs can even create conjunctions in the synastry chart. A conjunction is a very strong connection between 2 planets, and they occur when personal planets are less than 10 degrees apart. Usually, conjunctions are seen as a positive connection. However, they are very strong, and in some cases, they are not very positive. It does depend on the planets that are involved. For example, Pluto connections can be overwhelming. Also, the closer 2 planets are, the stronger they influence each other. Then it is also important to check whether or not that specific planet is also creating a contact to another planet, positive or negative. So let's say, for example, you have 2 suns in conjunction, and then one person's sun is forming a square to another person's Pluto, or forming a square to the other person's Venus. Then it would be more like a karmic thing, or at least a more difficult thing, because then triggering is stronger. Whereas when you have a positive connection to other planets, for example a trine to the other person's moon or Venus, then that would be a very good thing. The individual's maturity also plays a role. It can be either harmonious or triggering. So if you already have done your shadow work, you are more mature, then there is not as much triggering as it would be if you still have a ton of shadow work to do. And this triggering would be even stronger if the same planet is in the same sign. If it were one person's sun and the other person's moon, this would be rather create a very harmonious connection. Remember part 1 of the series. Since there's the same energy yet portrayed differently, which can create a feeling of completing each other. If the same planets meet in the same sign, they share the same attributes, and that can be positive or negative. I had a personal experience with a mirror soul when I was young. I was 18ish, and he was only 1 day older than me, and therefore we shared all of the same placements except for the rising sign. I don't know exactly when he was born, but I'm pretty sure he was not a Gemini rising. And when you have a different rising sign, and of course you do have different house placements, but everything of course was the same, because it was only 1 day had passed, so nothing happened. And he's also an aqua moon like me, because my moon is at 20 degree Aquarius, so most likely, no, I think it's actually pretty sure that he must have been a moon in Aquarius as well. Since I was young back then, it was not a harmonious connection, but I did see myself in him. I always thought, oh my god, we're like twins. I didn't know anything about twin flames then, I didn't think about that. But now looking back, I understand why people could easily confuse this with a twin flame connection. I thought, oh, we are like twins, but I'm more the light one and he's more the dark one. Even though we had similar attributes, I chose not to dive into some of the darker ones as much. For example, we are both extremely blunt, but I'm more careful about not hurting people, even though I still am a very blunt person, and he didn't care so much about the words he chose. So that, for example, would have been a difference, but we shared this bluntness. So we had many of the same traits and similar life experiences. And yes, I actually recorded a video on that topic. I think it is called something like Mirror Souls, Positive or Toxic, something like that. You will find it in my playlists. But another great example would be Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck. Even though they are born several years apart, so they don't have as much as in common. Like the dude and I, we pretty much had everything the same except for the rising sign and the houses. they do share many placements, especially when it comes to personal planets. And we do have this little chart here, and I took it from AstroSeek. I believe blue would be Jennifer Lopez, and this would be Ben Affleck in orange. So they share the same sun and moon sign, and I made this fat because those are the most important signs we have, sun and moon, even more than the rising sign. And they have the same Mercury sign. You cannot see the rising sign here, but one of them is Leo, the other one is Cancer. So that's actually yin-yang energy. The Cancer is ruled by the moon and Leo is ruled by the sun, so this is yin-yang energy. Only Venus, Mars and the rising sign are different when it comes to personal planets. I know it's the half, but those sun and moon, they are more important. They were way more than the other ones. So I assume when they got together years back, they still had too many shadows and it couldn't work. But now that they have evolved, it may be a long-lasting relationship between those two. But still, as in any connection, it is still important to see how the energy translates into the synastry and the composite chart. The synastry shows if there are signs of fate, and you do have signs of fate in high-level soul connections, and how they influence each other if there is a chance for commitment. I do have a video on fate in astrology. The composite shows a couple's combined energy and gives more information about the possibility for a long-lasting harmonious relationship. So it's always important to take all of that into consideration before labeling a relationship. Just because your person has the same sun and moon sign does not automatically mean that you are mirror souls, because it may not translate into your chart. You know, it can be, as I said, either more karmic or more harmonious, and you need to check that out in synastry and then also the composite. If you need help with that, I am available for that. You can reach out. But yes, I hope you liked it, and make sure you subscribe for more information on the subjects, because there will be more videos on divine counterpart astrology. I hope I see you in another video, or maybe even in a personal coaching, and I wish you all the best, and bye bye.